Today's episode is really fun. We're wrapping up the year and we thought about doing a best of episode. So this episode is going to include the top episodes for the entirety of Boss Bitch Radio and snippets of the juiciest clips of everything that you guys were enjoying. So if you likely found me from the bodybuilding community, the competitive world, this is going to be an episode you will not want to miss, and it will make total sense for you. These episodes were fire. They were the most downloaded, and it seems as if you guys really, really enjoyed the competition info. So we're going to give you some condensed snippets from each of them that are fantastic. So I'm hoping you will really enjoy them. Stay tuned to the end because the last episode is the most downloaded episode. So you won't want to miss that one. Okay, first in the lineup, we have episode number 119, Top 10 Fitness and Weight Loss Tips. Now, I know that it is not necessarily structured to competition. However, a lot of the rules and principles in this podcast apply to competitors and normies. Normies being just anyone who wants to improve their fitness or, weight loss strategy. And in this episode, you're going to hear a lot about protein intake, macronutrients, macros, those fun buzzwords. We're also going to discuss setting achievable fitness goals for the new year, which I think is kind of in line with the time of the year, depending on when you're listening to this, and also the effects of skipping meals and intermittent fasting. So stay tuned, dive in, and enjoy.
Okay, so tip number 6, eat more protein.
Oh, the protein queen.
I don't know if y'all have heard us, if you're new here, but this is what we preach, okay? Protein is the
foundation
best macro there is, okay? More or less because of the way it works in your body. It keeps you full. It supports muscle growth, all of that fun stuff, which is what we need when we are putting our bodies through so much in the gym.
Mm-hmm. I believe I read something the other day that was saying that, on average, most women only get between 40 and 50 grams a day.
Yeah, I know.
A day.
I know.
That's nothing.
So you should be at least getting over 100 grams. This is another reason why we really push tracking your food. You probably have no clue. I bet you have no idea. Also, when my friends start to track food, I want them to start learning what the macros are behind some of the foods that they eat, right? So say you're eating Pop-Tarts, you're going to know that's all carbs. There's no protein in that.
There's probably 2 grams of protein or something stupid. But that's
do we count that?
That doesn't mean it's primarily a carbohydrate.
Yeah. So it's and then even with your proteins, learn your proteins because whenever I do anything, I send out a macro cheat sheet and it's going to show you what protein lives in the only protein file, what protein lives in the protein and fat file, what protein lives in the protein and carb file. They're all different. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get them differently. So you got to see which one, where they live, how they're going to work for your body and what's going to be the best bet for you.
Yeah. And a simple, if that makes your head hurt, because I know, I'm trying to imagine people who are fairly new to Whole Foods, eating Whole Foods or dieting or trying to drop some body fat or work with macros, whatever. That can just be okay, that's too much for me to learn. It stresses me out.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat, try to get 3 whole meals a day where you get a fistful of protein. If you're not going to use a food scale or anything a closed fist that's about
this
4. I have a huge hand, so mine's 4.5 ounces, but that's about 4 ounces of protein. So something that is, going to be better for you is going to be a lean protein, chicken breast, turkey, ground chicken, ground beef, lean cuts of beef, flank steak, filet.
I think saying that is really important too. Learn the fat content in some of these proteins that you're eating. Because if somebody says, oh, you can have beef If you're eating an 80-20 beef, it's very different than a 96-4 beef.
Right.
The calories are extremely different.
Yes. So that is another point to that. So that's getting a little more granular, but eat 3 meals with 4 ounces, a fistful, eyeball that fistful of protein. And then, a 4th meal option if you're like, I can't imagine eating, because a lot of people can't imagine eating more than 3 whole meals.
Right.
Is think about filling the gaps with maybe something protein supplement wise. Like, don't live on protein bars and shakes and all that shit.
You'll be hungry.
But add it in as a bonus and you'll be pretty close to, I would assume, 80 to 100 grams of protein right there. If you did a protein shake in addition to 3 meals with a fistful of protein.
That would be about 100. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So number 7. This one
away.
is really good. Okay. So make small changes you can commit to. I know that New Year's is here and resolutions are happening, or even if it's not a resolution, you're just making promises to yourself. Do not be like, I haven't been to the gym in 18 years and now I'm going to be there every day.
Huge mistake.
It's not going to be great for you.
Huge mistake.
This is especially with new girls that come on that are like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been in the gym. So especially when we bring new girls in, it's like, okay, let's take this slow. We start them baby steps, see how they feel. If I notice that a new girl is doing great, her form looks good, I will bump her up as she needs to go. So that's going to go with trying to pick days. So if you've gone from 0 days in the gym, maybe start with 2 or 3 that week. And then if you get 2 or 3 and you're like, ooh, that was good, and you feel like you can keep that for a couple of weeks, add in another day.
Yeah. I actually talked somebody out of today. Actually, 2 people. I talked 2 people out of increasing or going with a higher package membership at the studio, and the other person I talked out of doing nutrition coaching.
Yeah.
Because of that reason. Because I get so much of this at the beginning of the year, and I'm like, look, I'm not trying to get you in here and get your money and then you're not going to show up and this is going to be a whole ass thing. I'm sorry, history repeats itself and I would love to give humans the benefit of the doubt. But the reality of it is Mrs. Jones, you've not worked out in, I think the first lady was 7 years and she wanted to do 16 times a month. And I was like, ooh, I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
Let's start you off with 8 times a month.
Right.
And you can always increase should you decide to. And then another client was wanting to sign up for nutrition coaching and she's, already doing, I think it's 75 hard and this and that. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
I think you should wait and give yourself some wins there. But yeah, I mean, I have a really good friend that has been a friend of mine for probably 17, 18 years. And every single year we have this conversation and every single year she tells me, I can't just do a couple days. I got to go all or nothing. I got to go all 6 days to the gym or I'm not going to do anything at all. I just can't. And I'm like, how's that working out for you? Mm-hmm. Because
you're either not going or you're not.
We have this conversation and every year you fail to execute on your 6 days a week. So how about something is better than nothing? And then she just goes dark and does nothing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens, I think sustainably to be happy in moving through life, go slow, make small goals, and then work from there. I had a few clients that were brand new and I'm like, okay, well, if you're in the gym 3 days a week and you're doing cardio 3 days a week, let's keep you here, see how you feel, see what happens. And then if we feel like we can add in some more, we will. No big deal, right?
Yeah, because you can always do that, but just get consistent with a couple days, few days, get some wins under your belt. Don't cancel on yourself. Find an accountability partner that's going to either go with you or be like, where are you at, bitch? Right. And just fucking grind, head down.
That's what we do. All right. So my numbers got messed up here, but I believe this is number 8. Just work on trying to become 1% better at whatever it was you did yesterday.
I like that.
Yeah, just 1%, a little bit.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like, I need to be 1% better on everything I did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
No, not at all. Pick one thing. Be like, well, that's a good win. I drank a gallon of water today instead of 88 ounces.
I did that.
You did?
Yeah, that's my 1% better.
You're a gallon in already?
No. But yesterday, that's what I was like, I need to get back to drinking a gallon. I need to flush some of this bloat from the weekend.
She asked me today. I said, "Do you have any water?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, do you have like a water bottle?"
No.
And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, don't worry. I have one in the car."
Yeah.
Because
I got gallons.
I'm tracking my water, friend. Okay.
That's your 1%. So it could be tiny little things.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you got to get your clothes ready the night before. It could be basic ass shit. Like you didn't go to the gym today because you didn't set your clothes out and the laundry was in the washer and you didn't get in the dryer. And so boo hoo, you can go to the gym. Okay. Your new 1% for tomorrow is I'm going to set my clothes out and they're going to be ready to go. And I'm not going to fucking hit snooze.
Correct.
Boom. Just knock it out.
Okay. Another thing that's guilty. So guilty. Okay.
Oh, tell us what you're guilty of.
Do not skip meals or hoard macros.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
That's a thing.
It is.
Because it's a vicious cycle.
I'm really fucking good at it too. Except
you're good at this toxic behavior?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm super toxic with it.
Yeah.
So what happens when you skip meals? You become hungry, more hungry than if you were to eat that meal.
I find that this is one of the main reasons why women, and I speak to women because that's who I work with, but women
right.
come home and eat the fucking pantry every night.
Oh, yeah.
It's typically because they skip breakfast, they just have a mocha frappuccino or they have like a coffee or whatever, and they don't eat till lunch. And then
even at lunch, it's probably like something grab and go.
It's like fast food or whatever. And then they try to go to train at the studio and they train like dog shit because they feel like dog shit and they're tired and they haven't eaten anything. And then they go home and then they lose their shit and eat the pantry. So that's one cause or one side effect of skipping meals or hoarding macros.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, that's the most important one is you want to regulate your body. You want your body to know that you're going to feed it so it feels like it's happy.
Like, why do grown humans not understand that? If anyone's ever had a child, which I know you haven't, but you're like you're a bonus mom.
Yeah.
But like, you can't just not feed your baby till 2 p.m. Like, shit's going to fucking pop off, right?
Yeah.
Probably their head. And we're just bigger, evolved babies.
Oh, yeah.
who why would we think that it's normal
yes.
to skip, and not eat, which I understand there are like benefits to like intermittent fasting and things like that used, I feel like sparingly, but like as a method of like constant dietary consumption, no.
I feel like it's better for your metabolism. It keeps the furnace burning.
I think it's more of like partially in tandem with that. It's like, blood sugar is highly underrated. And so when you wake up from a fasted state and then you just go about your day and just pour hot, scalding coffee into your system and like no water and you're just like burning the candle and you don't eat till noon, your blood sugar, you've gone without food and your blood sugar is going to just, have dips and valleys or peaks and valleys. And that's hard to manage when you get into like a ravenous state.
Yeah.
You just want to fucking eat everything.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's been to the point where if I wait too long to eat, I feel like I want to pass out.
Yeah. And you get shaky and it's like a whole situation.
It's not good. It's not good, friends.
So, we usually advise our clients to eat every 2.5 to 3 hours, not because there's any like fat loss magic with that, however, the side effects of going without are going to catch up to you.
Correct.
Like going without eating regularly. So we try to get them on a schedule. Eventually your hunger hormones will catch up and, you have more steady, predictable energy throughout the day. All right. This next episode is a great one if you are super curious about how the heck you are supposed to train for the body shape that you are interested in achieving. This episode is called How to Train Your Body Based on the Body You Want to Achieve. Super simple, right? Not so much. We're going to dive into that because in the health and fitness world, we see a lot of crazy stuff going on. So we're trying to prevent you from doing all those things that are not working in alignment towards your goal. This is episode number 120. And in this one, we talk about fitness and nutrition for parents with children. Also, how you can potentially avoid passing on negative body image issues to your children. Hot and very important topic. stretching, mobility, more stuff on body image, scars, birthmarks, stretch marks, uneven skin when it's coming time to tan for a show. It's kind of a smorgasbord of a lot of fun things. We discussed some things related to competitors and why they should take time off to grow, off season, what that should look like and why it's important, and also how to know if you're training too hard and how it can lead to poor form, lack of recovery, losing appetite, and more. Enjoy the episode. Hopefully you get some juicy nuggets from that one. I just remember really understanding how big of an impact my habits and things made on them, while I was dieting and all the things, and made it a point for them to understand, like, mommy's doing this for this thing, like this specific thing.
You have a goal.
Right. And, I wanted to make sure I never made my kids feel a type of way about, like, watch what you're eating. You're going to gain weight. You're going to get fat. Like, because this was shit that, like, my grandmother would, like, love my grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
My grandma's a badass, but this is stuff she would say. And, like, I love my parents too, but my dad, I mean, you talked about this too, right? Like, family, like, saying things. And that was a thing that, like, has impressed upon me. So I always wanted to make sure I didn't, pass that on and have my kids have some sort of complex around that. But I mean, be honest with them. I don't think we have ages on here, but just explain to them, mommy's trying to hit a specific goal. And, like, I don't really spend a lot of time on, like, I'm trying to get skinny, or look, I have this chub right here, or just, explain it from a health perspective.
You want to be healthier. That's just plain and simple.
Exactly. So I think if you can keep it more health focused and, like, I want to feel good and I want to feel strong and, like, positive things, and not like, oh, mommy's fat and mommy's trying to get skinny, mommy's trying to look like Aunt Susie who, whatever. So I think it's important you're languaging with your kids. But again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a therapist, so don't take my word.
Those are answered questions.
This is a good one. How often do you stretch?
We've been so good.
Every day.
OMG. Yes, every day. So, I mean, I get a little bit lucky anyways because I stretch with the girls at the studio in the morning, like, a bunch of times. But that doesn't mean that when we go to the gym that we don't stretch before as well. So I'm stretching a lot, honestly, like maybe 20, 40 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot. And it's, like, broken up. It's not, like, all in one setting.
For sure. And let's, like, kind of reframe this a little bit too, because static stretching. So, like, let me hold this tricep. Oh my God, my armpits. Why are my armpits so sweaty? I'm not even nervous. Like, let me hold this tricep. I just want to do that now. To hold this tricep stretch, or let me, like, pull my, I see people grab their ankle and, like, stretch their quads out. So static stretching is actually a counterintuitive for weight training. Okay. So static stretching is not. Super dynamic stretching is also not the greatest for weight training as well. Like, high knees, like, people just do, like, bounding, like, type shit.
Cardio shit.
Yeah. So if you're going to do, like, some HIIT stuff, like warming up with some kind of like lower impact, what am I saying? Dynamic stretching. We are working more like mobility and trying to get all the joints through their full range of motion. So we do that prior to training. So we'll do a lot of hip openers, some, what is it called?
Runner's lunge.
Yeah, runner's lunge, just to kind of, like,
do a hamstring stretch.
Get into our hips.
We use a stick for
we call them our mobility wands.
Magic sticks.
Just moving the joints, through full range of motion. Oh, world's greatest stretch too. So you can also, do a quick YouTube search on that. Super easy. It's probably, if you're in a hurry and you had to pick one, I would say, like, at least do the world's greatest stretch a few times on each side. But we're not spending, like, an exorbitant amount of time on stretching. This takes us, I mean, usually we're bullshitting while we're doing it.
Yeah.
5
maybe
minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
5 minutes.
That's what we do in the studio as well with every class. And everybody's a little bit warmer. The bodies, you're trying to, like, just checking in with yourself before you work out.
Yeah. And the static stretching, so, like, the extended holds that you're going to do to, like, really stretch out a muscle. Think about, like, a runner's, like, grabbing their ankle to, like, stretch out their quads. That stuff is better at the end of a workout when you're already warmed up. You've already, kind of fatigued the muscles or whatever, and you want to just, release the tension there. But I wouldn't be doing that at the start of a training session. So more mobility-based stuff.
Do scars, birthmarks, uneven skin, etc. show under tan on stage? How perfect need be?
It really depends.
I am not perfect.
Scars generally will, just because of the way that, the texture is in reference to the regular skin surrounding it, right? Usually it's a little bit raised. Depends on how large it is. If you tend to scar a little heavier, like more like keloid type scars. Some birthmarks, I know one of my athletes has a birthmark on her glute, like dead center, and it covers up really well with, and it goes down her leg actually too, covers up really well with the tan. You can get a little, I don't want to say bossy with the tan people, but I would stress to them like, hey, I have this birthmark. I need you to I'm going to need a heavy coat of tan. Maybe even have to pay for another coat. That might even be a thing. Stretch marks, kind of give and take.
They show a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, not to bring highlight to this, but specifically Miss Bikini Olympia last year, Jen Dory, she has if you see her front pose, you can see she has stretch marks on her back leg, the inner thigh. And I notice it every time just because now I know it, not because I'm ooh, it's just
she's not the only one either.
Yeah.
I see a lot of women as well. Even Olympians, they have stretch marks down the side of their thigh on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're growing. We're growing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for sure, those things can be covered by the tan to a certain degree, but not everything.
But in all honesty, you do not have to be perfect, obviously, because we're talking about Olympians. They're the cream of the crop. They've got all of that going on too. And as you can see, they've made it all the way and it's not an issue. If you want to be competitive, take time off to grow.
Yeah. And not
enjoy it.
Not 2 months.
No.
Okay. Not 3 months. Everybody's a little bit different.
I feel 6 months to a year is pretty good. And if you're very small or you're super duper new to lifting and it's your first show, you might even need a year and a half.
Yeah. Everybody's different. It really depends on your current base
and how competitive you want to be when you come back.
Right. If they said to you, okay, I'm just going to use a random muscle group, right? Okay, Amanda, package looks good. Presentation is great. Tan is good. Suit, all the things, blah, 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 blah. But you need just a little more growth on your upper glutes and everything is fine. I wouldn't be okay, we need to do a year off.
Right.
Because she already has a solid base of muscle. That's not necessary, right? For me, in order to be competitive in figure, that would have probably been a year of me hardcore focusing on my quads because everything else is going to catch up, but I'm going to need to hyper focus on that area. So if it's overall growth and you have been training for under a year or a year to maybe 2, take some time off. Don't have FOMO. But the problem is that people get fucking scarly and they just do a bunch of random shit in the off season. They stop working with their coach. They only go to the gym once a week. And they're like, I took a year off. Well, bitch, what'd you do in that year? Kick your feet up and eat Cheetos don't count.
Off season and wanting to grow into your next show is pretty there's still a plan in place,
Yeah.
If you want to come back to the next show and you want to be doing better, everybody says, and we're everybody.
Yeah.
Off season is where that happens. Improvement season is where that happens. If, you're just happy placing where you're placing, then just keep competing.
And that's exactly the point I was going to make too. If you are just having FOMO and you just want to keep competing because you don't want to take the advice, but you want to be competitive, you're going to suffer.
Yeah.
You're going to keep placing poorly unless you show up better than somebody at a show. Just by the fate of
who
luck.
shows up.
Who shows up. So
True
you
dat.
just have to be
True
careful
dat.
with that. Oh, this is a good one. How to know you are training hard enough or too hard for building muscle? Well,
I don't think you're training too hard.
she means that with love, okay?
Sorry. I mean, I fucking train and I don't think I'm training too hard. I still try and train harder than I did yesterday.
We, and let's just give some background. We've been training clients for a very long time. You spend training clients way more than I do now, but we've probably accumulated about the same amount of time training women.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very, very rare that I will find somebody that is training too hard or too much. It's very, very, very very, very rare. Okay. if you're like a CrossFit athlete or like you're doing a bunch of shit and training at our studio and then going over here and training at this studio and then doing that, you could be over your training and being counterintuitive, but it's not highly likely that you're training too hard. Some indications, you can't recover.
Yeah, you're always sore. Or, I think what happens when you're training too hard is your form suffers.
Yes.
I was going to say your form is trash, but I'm trying to be nice, okay? So, yeah, I mean, typically, if you're in the gym and you're training too hard, I'm saying either most likely your form is not that great or, you need more recovery either way.
Yeah. So if you're training too hard, like you'll know. Your joints will hurt. Your motivation to go to the gym is probably going to be lackluster. You're going to be super tired all the time. You're not going to be recovering very well. You might even lose your appetite. Some people will lose their appetites when they are overtraining. So, yeah. All right. The real reason you're here is this next episode is muscle building tips and sculpting and toning for women. Not really. I mean, maybe it's the reason why you're here, but I know that this is a main reason why a lot of you listen to us on Boss Bitch Radio, because we are competitors. We are athletes. We're bodybuilders. We get on stage. And by we, I mean myself and my team. Everybody who works on my team at Venus has competed. They have been on stage. And that's just kind of like accidentally, but intentionally has happened with my team. Nonetheless, this episode, which is 145, is going to include the topics of muscle building and why you need to be patient, bitch. Okay, be patient because it takes some time. Then the importance of needing to eat properly to grow muscle, which if you've been here for any amount of time, you've heard me stand on my soapbox and scream. And then also learning your body's limits through weightlifting, dieting, prioritizing your self-awareness, and also how you can master this. Okay. Enjoy that episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
People underestimate how long it takes to put on quality muscle. Like these pros on stage have been doing it for 10 plus years. Some of them have been in the game for longer than that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you can't get there in 2 years. I mean, there might be some roundabout ways to, but you're not going to look like that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think you have a very good point there. And a lot of times people see that end result, but they don't see all the shit that you did to get there, right? They just see like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to get on stage. And I admire that people have that zest and fever for like wanting to set some crazy goal. But also it's a lot of time to put in, and you have to be consistent with it. That's the problem, is you can't dabble in it for 3 months and then take 6 months off until January 1st again or whatever. And, just kind of go around like that. It's the constant training.
And you put a lot into it for not a lot of output from it. Like you're in the gym for hours for each day, almost every single day. And at the end of the month, you don't put on just a few pounds of muscle a month. It's way slower than that.
Oh, it's so slow.
With all of the perfect combination of food, your water, your sleep, your recovery, everything's got to be on point for you to be putting on some muscle most times.
So we had this client, if I said her name, you'd remember her, but I'm not going to say her name.
Yeah.
And so she started at the studio and she gained 10 pounds in 3 months. And she says, and she was not doing diet coaching with us. Okay. So I knew, because I talked to her during training, and, I always kind of like, this is a go-to. If you're a trainer, for the most part, I'm going to be like, what'd you eat for breakfast? What'd you have for lunch?
Yeah.
Did you sleep? I'm going to ask you all the things, because if you're training like trash, I'm like going to uncover the problem and help you problem solve. Okay. So she says to me that she gained 10 pounds and like her pants aren't fitting in things and she thinks it's all muscle. And I said, honey, boo-boo. Okay. You're 56. You just started training. You are eating too many snacks. Something is happening. Okay. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're kind of right. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm right. Because sometimes what happens when you start weight training, honestly, just exercise in general, but I find, does cardio kick up your appetite very much?
Yeah, a little bit-ish.
Okay. I think if we go long spurts without doing it and then we start to add it in and, it's high intensity, it does. But a lot of times weight training will make you hungrier. You're using big muscle groups. It makes sense, right? So if you're not working with a coach and you're not on track with like, hey, we need to steer your nutrition this direction, make sure that you're eating enough protein, meal plan, macros, whatever, and you're just left to your own vices, you feel strong, you feel great. You're like, I'm going to, eat some In-N-Out every night or whatever. And your appetite kicks up. You're going to be eating more food. So you're not likely gaining, doesn't mean you're gaining muscle.
No.
Definitely not 10 pounds in 3 months. Unless you're juiced out of your gourd with some like incredible steroids and, I don't know, but you have to really be mindful of your food intake because you will put on weight and it is not muscle. No. It gets slower the more muscle you have.
Yeah.
So sadly. Are you noticing that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel so small in the gym every day.
Yeah.
Just so small.
So small. Okay. So what have you specifically feel like you've learned about your body? Like throughout this process?
Ooh, that's a good one. How far I can like push myself without it being too much in like the physical aspect. Like while I'm weight training, I can really push to failure. It's going to get like ugly. I might hurt myself, but like I can be that dedicated to the lift, but I'm also not trying to push myself to that point.
Yes.
So I've learned that like my limits and what boundary I don't want to cross because I was a power lifter. I'm like, I am strong, but I have to control that shit. I have to really feel my muscle I'm working. And that involves taking down the weight a lot and just like that mind muscle connection.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, diet wise, of course, when you eat something and it doesn't react well with my stomach, like I've always had a finicky stomach since I was young. So anything I eat, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to eat that next time. Even if it's like we're out at an outing, a restaurant, it's not worth it.
I will say you do have a good gauge for that. More so like you don't let your gluttony where you're just like you have FOMO and like post show you're just like, oh, I want to, like you'll have a few things, but your limits and you'll stop and you don't let it go past a certain like overindulgence where you're sick and all that.
Well, I mean, my last show, I literally overindulged. Like I think I got on the scale, it was 20 pounds over the next day. My stomach, or maybe not the next day.
No, there's no way.
The next few days.
Yeah.
My stomach was so extended. And I think it was just like seeing all the food things on Instagram. I bought $150 worth of PDX cookies.
Oh my God, I remember that. I
still have one in my freezer.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I ate everything in sight and I knew I shouldn't have, but I was like, why not?
Do you have advice for people?
Don't do it. It ain't worth it. Don't.
Yes.
And don't follow those pages. Like those food pages are going to be very pleasing in the moment. It's like eye porn.
I had to unfollow all of them last show.
And she would tell me, you can't look at that shit. And you really can't look. I was watching ASMR of people eating and gorging themselves for a living.
Yeah. You guys, bodybuilding is not a healthy sport.
It is not healthy.
Not at all. Just like most extreme sports aren't probably the best for most people. Bodybuilding is no different. It's funny to me how people think bodybuilding is like so healthy. Like
because you aesthetically look like the epitome of health, right?
Well, yes. But
people don't know.
Right.
It's not always
We're
about
saying like competing, like the whole aspect of like competition and like that whole thing. Bodybuilding as a lifestyle, so great for you.
Yes.
Where we're not taking it to that extreme with show, but lifting and all that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's pretty hard on your body.
Very. With getting so low calories and just grinding down. Okay. What have you learned about your mind in this process? Because that's the most important piece.
I've learned that I'm disciplined AF. I mean, I set my mind to things and I will do them. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But yeah, I think that's what I've learned. I don't know.
I was talking about this with my interview with Bex. She's actually competing this weekend. So for her to try to get her pro card. But we were discussing how we both agreed that the habits and like mindset that we have to be effective competitive bodybuilders on stage has transferred over to
Business.
our personal lives, our business lives, and things like that. And it has worked in our favor for that.
I think 1,000%, because I mean, with bodybuilding, you have to be disciplined, right? But it also teaches you how to be disciplined in other areas of your life, like your business, scheduling, keeping yourself organized and on task, because bodybuilding XYZ's got to happen for you to get on stage. In life is like that too. If you got a goal, guess what? XYZ's got to happen. It just don't happen.
Yeah. And I think too, at least for me, you tell me if you agree, is when you get to the tail end of a prep and you are starving and you are exhausted and you're posing and you have to look cute and all the things that come with bodybuilding, everything else feels like a piece of cake after that. Like easy. Okay, piece of cake. That's an old people saying. I just realized you kind of looked at me like, what's that mean?
No, I know what that means.
Okay. Like everything else to me, like if I can eat 900 calories a day for 6 weeks and do 2+ hours of cardio and train for an hour and a half, run a business, be a mom, be a grandma, out doing single people things sometimes, I can do, there isn't, I feel like there's not anything I can do.
Absolutely.
Like that's some hard ass fucking shit.
Yeah. To like physically put yourself through.
Yes.
And then the rest is just mental.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. So I feel like it prepares you for just being uncomfortable. Not prepares you, but you can handle it. Like you
can handle life's shit.
All right, you guys, Boss Bitch Radio has their first ever sponsor. And the only reason I decided to have a sponsor is because I'm obsessed with their freaking products. Cured is now an official sponsor for Boss Bitch Radio. But most importantly, I wanted to talk to you today about their sleep bundle. You know the importance of sleep if you've been listening to me for any amount of time in your quest to reshape your body. The magic happens when you are sleeping. Yes, you got to do the training, you got to do the eating. If your sleep is crap, you need the sleep bundle from Cured. I love their CBD products, their CBN products, but their sleep bundle is amazing. You get the Zen product, their most potent CBN. This is the answer for your tossing and turning and not sleeping soundly. Now, you may think I sleep pretty well, I get a full 6 hours, 7 hours, but what is the quality of your sleep? If it's not good quality sleep, you're not feeling fully rested. It leads to you not feeling motivated the next day. Your workout's not feeling as great as they can be. And let's be honest, if you're not getting a full night's sleep, this can also lead to some of those snackcidents and overeating because you're tired and you're reaching for snacks. Now, their Zen product is a blend of functional mushrooms, cannabinoids, and adaptogens. Even though CBN is a lesser known cannabinoid found in the hemp plant, it's remarkable. These supplements are designed to help support the most critical stages of your body's natural sleep cycle. So your REM sleep and your non-REM, that deep sleep. Their raw CBN oil contains 30 milligrams of CBD and 5 milligrams of CBN. So it's creating a synergistic whole body effect. So when it kicks in, you're going to notice every inch of your body soften into a deeper state of relaxation. They have some amazing products. They have some products for your pets as well. My favorite is the Zen. My sleep is amazing. It is my favorite thing is to take my supplements, turn on my little noise app and pass out and wake up feeling refreshed. And the greatest part, you guys, is that with my code BOSSBITCH, you will save 20% off. Check out the link in the show notes, enter BOSSBITCH, and that is going to save you that 20%. You'll have zero grogginess with these products. And honestly, melatonin is so old school and overrated. It's overdosed in the market and it definitely makes you feel groggy. And let's be real, gives you some weird fucking dreams sometimes. Okay. So this will leave you feeling refreshed and ready to take on your day. Check it out. Help support the podcast. Don't forget Boss Bitch as the promo code and let me know what you think. Okay, this episode was super popular because the guest that I had is amazing. I love her. I wish we could have got some video, which was kind of funny because she is a mom of 6. And at the time that I interviewed her, she was in her walk-in closet to just find a space of quiet in her home. So she's like, please don't record it in here. My closet's a mess. So nonetheless, Abs by Amy, you have to go follow her on Instagram. She has the best reels ever. So she was one of the top most downloaded episodes for Boss Bitch Radio. And there's no surprise as to why. So we talked about bodybuilding for her and prepping with 6 kids. Yes, you heard that correct. 6 kids. Other topics we discussed were her fitness journey after 6 pregnancies, right? How she has 6-pack abs to this day. And how to juggle momming with a large family. What to do the first few hours of your day if you're trying to be productive, especially if you have small children or children in general. And what you need to do to get it done. We also dive into how her name came about, Abs by Amy. A really fun story. And then she also gave us her favorite ab exercises.
So how was prepping, back then with 6 kids? Because I have girls that have 0 kids now and they're like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And I'm like, try having 1 kid, but like 6 kids. How is prepping with 6 kids? Because you're like doing your cardio and your training and you're on poverty macros. Like, I'm sure your patience was likely a little thinner than usual.
So first of all, I have an amazing husband.
He seems like it. I did see him on some of your videos.
He is amazing and he is so supportive and he is absolutely wonderful. But with that being said, it was still very hard. Like I was on 90 minutes of cardio for 6 months.
6 months?
6 months.
Wait, 90 minutes a day?
Yes, 90 minutes a day.
Oh my goodness.
For 6 months. Because I had to do I did my prep and then I got canceled and I was still in prep until who knows how, we didn't know when COVID was going to be over or when it was going to happen. So for 6 months, I did 90 minutes of cardio every single day. So I got up at 3:30 in the morning because my workouts were 4 hours because I had to do my lifting and then I had to do my cardio. So it took me 4 hours. So I would get up at 3:30 in the morning so I could go to the gym, be there at 4 when it opened, and then get my whole workout in and then be on with my day. And I also I was so exhausted. I gave up my garden. I didn't do a garden that year. I had to let so many things go. My house was rarely clean. I was just so tired. I would just literally sleep on the couch whenever I possibly could. I had to hide from the kitchen so I wouldn't eat.
I laugh because I get it. Laughing with you.
I would literally be like, I have to be upstairs or have to be outside. I cannot be anywhere near the kitchen because I would just eat or else I would try to just go sleep or do something else because I was just so tired. So it was rough. It was really hard. My kids had a crappy mom for that 9 months.
So with your pregnancies, were you working out during all your pregnancies? Were you pretty active? How, did you gain a lot of weight? How was that for you transitioning from pregnancy to pregnancy?
So all the moms are going to relate with this statement, but it is so hard to try to get into shape in between your pregnancies because you're just going to get pregnant again and you're like, oh, and I'm starting over.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard for me every single time. I stayed active, because I liked how it made me feel. And I liked, I used to run, I used to do the beach body videos. I used to, do whatever I could, but every single time I got pregnant, I was like, oh, I'm starting over.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. And so it wasn't until after I had my 6th baby that I was like, okay, I knew he was my last one. And that's when I really was like, I'm going for this. I'm getting my body back. And that's when I really focused, took the pictures, went to town. And I had no idea I would end up where I am today with this, but I was self-driven and motivated because I was going to get my body back. But it's funny that you ask if I was active in between or during my pregnancies. No, I was not. I was literally, I just grew a baby. I had pregnancies where I was either very sick, throwing up all the time, or I had preterm labor issues. Like I would have contractions that started about 20 weeks. And then a couple of the pregnancies I was put on bed rest. I had a daughter that was born, like a month early.
Yeah.
And so she had to be in the NICU. So I had kind of a risky pregnancies in that aspect. All my kids were born a little early. So no, I didn't work out during any of my pregnancies because I was either too sick or I couldn't. So it was just like, I just grew a baby and then I started over after I had them.
So after the 6th, you were like, okay, it's my time now.
Yeah. And that was it. And I was like, hey, taking pictures and we're doing this thing.
I bet. Yeah. So with 6 kids, how, like, you have got to have a structure. Like how do you juggle momming with 6 kids? And I'm sure they all have their own like homework, school activities and things. And then you have this robust Instagram. I know you also train clients as well, right? In person.
Yeah. That all didn't happen until after COVID. My husband started working from home after, he does, computer software. And so he was able to switch to full time working from home since then. And so I was able to start teaching classes. And that's when kind of I started doing my Instagram more. But up until that point, like, no, I was just on my own fitness journey with my kids. And it is busy being a mom of 6. And so the only time I could go without excuses, because the day is just nuts, was early in the morning. So I just would have to get up like 4:30 in the morning and go. And, this was partly during my prep. So 3:30 in the morning, got a little earlier, and then go and then, just be a mom the rest of the day. But that was the only time I had to myself.
Yeah. So you knock your training out still first thing in the morning. Is this like your routine now? I'm always curious, when I talk to specifically like moms, but, women who are juggling a lot, like what are the first couple hours of your day look like? Because generally success leaves clues, right? And you're successful in obviously your health and fitness goals. And you have children, you're married. So I'm always like, okay, what is the first couple hours? What does that look like for you? So you get up, you go to the gym. Do you have like any kind of like meditation practice or prayer or anything that you do that like starts your day? And that's like, you filled your cup up and then like, okay, now I can go and, be of service for the kids.
Yeah. I wake up and I'm a firm believer in the way that you like talk to yourself and like your mindset. And so I like to, like when I wake up, kind of talk to myself and choose that I'm going to have a good day and I'm going to have a good attitude. And then I kind of go over in my mind what I want to accomplish that day. And it all has to be done before the family wakes up and before anything else happens, because I've had mornings where I don't get up early and then like I'm rushing to get the kids up and then we're screaming to get the kids out the door and it's mass chaos and I'm hurrying to feed them. And then it's just like, and it just feels chaotic. Yeah. And I've had mornings like that. And so to avoid that, I know the importance of getting up early and starting like a routine and calm. And that sets the tone for your whole entire day. And you can have a much more successful, like productive day when you do that. And so granted, getting up early and starting to go to the gym early, it created that habit in me. And I continue to do that, even though I don't need to go early now. I have more flexibility in my schedule. I still do. And I still get up early and get my kids breakfast and get that routine because it just makes the whole day better.
Yeah. And then you have less to like have to tackle in case something comes up later. That's my biggest thing when I'm telling women, like most of my most consistent, successful clients knock it out in the morning because they, something happens, somebody gets sick, you got to pick up a kid at school or something like that. And then life gets lifey. It doesn't care if you have fitness goals, right? So if you just get in there and knock it out, it's not ideal. Like I will admit 3:30 sounds awful. It sounds absolutely awful, but in a season in your life where that's just what you have to do to get things done. So in your Abs by Amy, like kind of like Instagram persona, how did that take off for you?
Oh gosh. So I was so nervous starting that page. It was nothing that I ever planned on doing. I never thought I would be here. I never thought that anything would come of this. So the reason why I started it is as I was in the first part of my journey, and I did start to, you know, make some transformations in my body, I started getting lots of questions at the gym. People would stop me and ask me like, hey, what are you doing? Or what do you do? Are you a trainer? And I was like, no, I just like to show up at the gym. Like,
yeah. I just live here
so
4 hours a day.
No. But I would start getting these questions. And so I thought, oh gosh, well, maybe I do. Cause that was one of the questions. Well, do you have an Instagram? And I was like, no. So anyway, I thought, well, maybe I'll just start one just to like answer questions for people and just see if I could help them out and just have a place for people to go and say, yeah, that's on my Instagram page. This is what happened. And so I started out that way. I was so nervous, but one of my friends told me, she's like, just be yourself. Just be yourself.
Best piece of advice.
And that's all I've done is I've just been my dorky, crazy, like just wanting to help people self. And it's just kind of grown organically from there because I truly enjoy helping people and sharing my journey. If my journey helps other people, because I'm literally just the most normal mom of 6. And we have a small house. We're nothing fancy. Like I'm just your average mom. And if you can relate with me because of my journey and I can help you, then I've done my job.
So we have to ask Abs by Amy, because I'm sure everybody asks you this. What is your favorite ab exercise?
Oh my gosh. So probably planks, honestly,
really?
Because it's like abs, but it's like your shoulders and your total body. And I have it on my app. I have my whole plank routine on my app, but I started all of my workouts with this plank routine that I created in my head. And I was like, this is good.
Okay.
And so I would do that every single day.
Before you train?
And before I did my other lifts, I'd start with this like plank routine, and I did it every single day. And so
I'm going to have to go deep in the creep and see if I can find some of that.
Yeah.
And share
it. It's on my Instagram somewhere. I know it's in my app. But anyway, I love planks.
Okay. That's super easy. You don't need any fancy equipment for that.
Nope.
It's super easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Good
Okay.
stuff.
And then last, but most certainly not least, because this was the episode with the most downloads, is episode number 136, which was titled, These Inconsistencies Will Halt Your Fat Loss Progress, plus Macro Hacks and Dieting Tips. This was probably an Instagram Q&A, and we talked about pre-workout nutrition, hydration, post-workout, how to get in so much water, post-workout meals ideas, and some protein ideas. Jam-packed episode there for you as well.
3 key areas are making sure, obviously, your pre-workout nutrition, hydration, and then post-workout is important as well. So for something with protein and carbs is usually what we try to nudge our clients to get in prior to training. Worst case scenario, at least having some kind of carbs before training. 20 to 30 grams is a good rule of thumb. Everybody's a little bit different. It really depends on your goals, but just as a blanket approach, 20 to 30 grams.
I had 2 chocolate rice cakes today. And the funniest part is that I was eating them in my daughter's bed. So I hope she finds crumbs.
This was your pre-workout?
My hell, the tables have turned.
Yeah. See, that's what she gets. So just something, it doesn't have to be we talked about this too, and we say it often, everybody's a little bit different. Alicia can eat a full on 5-course meal and 10 minutes later go and do a heavy leg day and be totally fine. I'm a bitch about shit.
She had a mediocre meal the other day before a leg day on Saturday, and I didn't think she was going to make it.
I was like, I don't feel very good. I should not have. I don't even know what we ate. I don't even remember.
Your beautiful sandwich.
Oh, yeah. And it was
so good.
But I know what the problem is that it was heavy on dietary fat. And I always tell people, don't eat fats before training. It slows down your digestion a lot, and it's heavy in your gut. And the sandwich I had was sourdough toast with a smattering of avocado and also
I had a bite. It was so good.
And some goat cheese. And then I think it was just plain egg whites or whatever. But the goat cheese and the avocado, I was like, I'm going to shit my pants.
Not speaking of shitting her pants, but speaking of the egg whites in her sandwich. So both of our sandwiches did not come with egg whites. we asked for that extra. So if you're like, you're stuck out somewhere, you're having breakfast, like don't be afraid to switch in an egg white or, see if you can do one egg and they can sub some more egg whites. So you can get a better protein coming from, whatever your breakfast might be, if it is eggs.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
So good.
Yeah. So some pre-workout snacks. What did we talk about? Our go-to, just because it's easy.
Rice cakes.
Yes.
We literally have like rice cakes like sprinkled throughout the car, the studio, the backpacks, like everywhere. There's always going to be some sort of a snack just in case we're about to have a accident or we need to do some random acts of fitness.
Which happens.
All the time.
And sometimes, I'm running around or whatever, and we usually always meet up to train, and I'll be like, yo, you got anything? And she's like, pulls out, I don't know, whatever flavor of the week it is, apple, cinnamon, chocolate, it doesn't matter. So a couple rice cakes is super easy, super simple. No excuse to not just have that in your car ready to go. Some other ones, if you can just have a meal, really, honestly, like just rice, chicken, rice, beef, potatoes, sweet potatoes, toast is fine. Just something that you can utilize as fuel for your training.
If you're Crack-A-Don crazy, we recommend that you guys get EAAs.
Mm-hmm. So Crack-A-Don crazies are those that roll out of bed like stupid o'clock to train before the birds are even up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will try to do that fasted. And we usually recommend trying to get some carbs in there and then some EAAs if you don't want to have anything too heavy. You just kind of like want to get something in and go.
I was actually talking to a client in the studio today, and she's pretty new to ditch. I mean, she's been dieting for a while, so she kind of gets the fact of meal prepping and all of that. But what we've really been noticing lately is because we've been timing her food. She said that she feels better when she has heavier carbs after her training, which she's a Crack-A-Don crazy, and then lighter carbs for dinner.
Oh, yeah. And everyone's a little bit different. So you just have to play around with that. But some things you want to try to avoid, like I did on Saturday before our training, because we found this really great little, I almost like don't want to tell people because I love it. And it's so yummy. But I think it's called Good Day Lucille or Good Morning Lucille. It's this wonderful little like Ma and Pa cafe that's here in town. So freaking good. But that meal was high in fat and high in fiber. So those are two things you want to try to avoid pre-workout because like I mentioned, they'll slow down your digestion and can cause you like some gut upset. So be careful with that. So just try to keep those like post-workout and away from your training so you're not dealing with that in training.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, if I'm having a meal, I space it out a little bit farther than if I was going to have a rice cake while I'm walking into the gym.
Yes.
Little of a difference. That's just my preference for my typical workout, but everybody can choose. And then I think one of the really great things too is that when we start getting people that don't eat breakfast to eat breakfast, they notice that they start feeling better throughout the day. There's no like, slump on their way into lunch, and then they have lunch and then they feel even more like sluggish and slow.
Yeah, it's certainly helpful. So definitely getting in some pre-workout, carbs is very helpful. And then we have hydration is super important, pre-training, during training, post-training. I can't stress this enough. We have so many dehydrated clients that are coming in and I'm like, how much water have you drank today?
I did not have water with me during
your muscles are screaming right now. Your whole body is like, you're like shriveling up in the inside. So
like the SpongeBob when the water goes away.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's what I'm like. I can't,
Don't use that for the thumbnail, please.
I might. But, staying hydrated throughout the day, it's such an underrated tool for training, like life in general. We talked about this on Sunday's Coffee with Coach, where I was like, I've been drinking a ton of water. Like it's the primary beverage that, I gravitate towards for everything. And, if you get into that habit, it's not so bad. And you can make it fun and fancy and try to play around with different things if you want. You don't, oh, water's so boring. I'm like, grow up.
Perspective is everything, my friends. Some really silly kind of hack that I've apparently bestowed upon the studio, or at least some of my clients, is the 33 ounce bottles of water are seriously easier to kind of drink quickly
from Costco.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, anywhere.
Yes.
There's you can have any kind of water that comes in like a 30-ounce water bottle. But I will say I've definitely had some clients, some athletes be like, you know what? I was really struggling with my water, but knowing that I need to have like 3 or maybe 4 of these in a day has really made it a lot easier.
Yeah, because it's just, you don't have to worry like, oh, how many times have I filled up this Yeti or whatever, right?
Right.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I ordered Instacart a couple days ago, and this morning I was like, I went to go because I order those every week. It's just because I'm like, it's easy and I just know that I have 3 of them. I'm good to go. No, they charged me. I went and I'm like,
a wait fee.
Oh no, they charged me, but they didn't deliver them.
Oh.
So I'm like, where the fuck are those water bottles? I'm like looking around. Nope, they didn't come. So I, filed my little Instacart claim, but they're so handy and so convenient that it's just like a habit now. And I love having them around.
Sometimes I just carry a whole case in the back of the Jeep.
I've done that.
And then
before.
I'm like, bloop, that's mine.
Yeah. So moral of the fucking story is
drink your water.
Drink your water. Try to drink before you train, during, after, if you want to be kind of extra, like we, really encourage trying to get some EAAs during your training, essential amino acids. People are always like, what are your, which ones do you prefer? What's your favorite? I like HD Muscle just because their products taste good and their ingredients are great. Ghost also makes really great tasting products. So those 2 are generally like my go-tos just because flavor is great. Thorne makes an excellent one. Thorne is my favorite when it comes to supplementation. They're more like a designer supplement line.
They're bougie.
They're a little bougie. Up, but the flavor is not the greatest. But, you know
what? I had the
lemon lime.
Yes.
I
was like, if I was taking a shot, it would be fine.
Yeah. But
like a little bit of a kamikaze.
Yeah, but not for like enjoyment. You're not drinking that and be like,
but you don't drink a kamikaze for enjoyment.
I might.
No. What happens after is what we're enjoying. That's for sure.
Oh, okay, got you. So sip on your water during your workout. You want to stay hydrated, and that also will help with recovery. So post-workout recovery, post-workout snacks, if you're like in between meals, essentially the same thing that you have pre-workout, you can have post-workout, but you can also, this would be a great time if you wanted to have some dietary fats or things with fiber, post-workout. I tend to like to have more of my heavier proteins post-workout. So more of like my beef meals, more like if I was going to do potatoes and things like that, those would be the choices that I would have would be post-workout. They sit a little bit heavier post-workout and it's just a little slower digesting versus trying to have that pre-workout,
We feel like it sits longer.
It sits longer.
For the hunger monster that's coming.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed these episodes. Make sure to visit the show notes. So that way you can find links to the full episodes and listen to them in their entirety to glean all the lessons learned that we discussed in each specific episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this style of episode. If you really, really liked it, I would love for you to share that with me over on Instagram, Diane Flores _IFBB_pro, and shoot me a DM. And I would love to hear from you. All right. Enjoy and have a great day.